Welcome back to another video looking at Warcry heroes. Today we're looking at Chaos, and there are a lot of options with 164 possible heroes, allies and Thralls to select from. With the arrival of the Rotmire Creed and Chaos Legionnaires, we're up to 24 different Chaos warbands. Damage is mostly around the 5 to 7 range, which is great. These largely are the Warcry specific warbands like the Iron Golems, with their heroes typically fitting into similar profiles. Lots of 20 wounds, which is great to see. We're expecting the majority of our fighters to be quite hard to kill. Very few move 3 characters, which is a blessing and a curse. To move 3 fighters are a pain to get into position, but with the 2.0 costing revamp, they have been super efficient. Strength and toughness, as we expected, typically 4. Maybe someday this pattern will change, but right now this just reaffirms the meta. Base your damage on toughness 4 fighters and you'll be in a good place. Then see if you can get some toughness 5 fighters to mess with everybody else. And finally we have our damage Scatterplot. Compared to the Order heroes, the lack of red moved 3 fighters is stark. There are a few peaks which I've marked. The Blood Reaper in particular looks particularly interesting. Check the description if you want to see an interactive version of this plot. Okay, our first top 5 is straight damage, and these numbers are much higher than the Order heroes where the top damage was 9.33. The Chaos Lord on Karadrak is very expensive at 375, but the damage is insane, and he's move 8 with range. He does have a few interesting abilities, but they're mostly triples. Of particular note though is Champion of Darkness, which will give him an extra move and attack if he manages to get a kill. Note that he is mounted, which means he cannot climb outside of stairs. Often this won't be a problem, but if the space is there, your enemy can keep him out of the fight with clever positioning. Next up we have the Doom Bull. Unfortunately a bit of an old resin model, but there are plenty of giant Minotaur alternatives. Move 5 means it's pretty nippy, the damage is still insane, and like the Chaos Lord, super chunky with 38 wounds. Beasts of Chaos fighters have a double that lets them move the dice value in inches, but only on the first turn, usually when you need it most anyway. The heroes also have access to that classic double that gives them a bonus move or attack after a kill, which I love on high damage models. Alternatively, the Doom Bull has a second double after a kill, which lets him heal points equal to dice values. So for a double, you get the perfect trifecta of movement, kill, or recovery. For a little less, we have the Fomoroid Crusher and the Ogroid Myrmidon. Both these are still doing insane average damage of 10, while the Crusher is keeping that damage all the way up to toughness 5 targets. Both are 5 move with toughness 6, and the Crusher has an extra 5 health. Model-wise, these are a lot more accessible than a Doom Bull and have fantastic plastic kits. As allies, they have their own specific tailored set of abilities, which gives them a better range of options than most. While the Crusher's list is relatively tame, the Myrmidon does have an impressive triple that lets him give 1 point of damage to a friendly to give that friendly a bonus melee action. Last in the list we have the Slaughterborn with Great Axe from the Dark Horde Savages. At 6 strength he's doing 9.33 damage, all the way up to T5, which is crazy for a 180 point model. At 20 wounds, it's not as if he's weak either. If you look back at the Alliance heroes, you'll find the same but with 3 move instead of 4, which is a big difference. He has some very interesting doubles. One, the classic on-kill bonus action, but the second, a vow fulfilled, can boost his stats on a kill, which is really interesting. This is the tip of the list, with some great options further down, like the Lord of Afflictions, the Lord of Pain, Bloodline, Skullmaster Herald, and Heart Eater, all coming in with over 9 damage on average. With Order, we cut out the move 3 fighters, but we don't have to do that with Chaos heroes. Instead we can go straight into damage efficiency. These are the damage per point figures. Unsurprisingly, we can see the Slaughterborn in first place. Second, we have the Blood Reaper, who at 135 points is doing an impressive 6.67 damage on average. At toughness 3 and 15 wounds, this is probably one of the squishier heroes available. The Blood Reaper does have that same double I always go on about, in this case it's Blood for Blood God, giving an extra action after a kill. Alternatively, there is a triple Locus of Fury that will give nearby fighters +1 attack after a kill. Next up, we have the Poxbringer. A little cheaper at 130, but with better toughness and wounds in exchange for a slow 3 move. The damage listed is for the melee attack, which is solid, but there is also an option for a range attack, doing an average of 3 damage. There is a heal double ability, but apart from that, not too much of interest in the ability side. Pay a little bit more and you can upgrade your Blood Reaper into a Blood Master. And we're back into insane damage values over 9, and on a body even cheaper than the Slaughterborn. The abilities are the exact same as for the Blood Reaper, so it's really just a stats upgrade, but absolutely worth it. Last we have the Heart Eater, still amazing damage and a move 5 as well. Again we can see a bonus action, a on kill double, but we also have an interesting double that gives combined +1 on the next move and +1 dice on the next attack. Essentially the two universal doubles combined together for those turns when you want to charge in and then attack with your two actions. Moving to 4+ only takes out the Poxbringer and gives us the Pit Champion instead. He's actually in a tie with the Dominar and the Sibarash Ego Pump, but comes ahead by virtue of his melee attack with a reach option. Again, we see the usual bonus action on kill, or triple to give +1 attacks to nearby friendly fighters. Next we're looking at the wounds characteristic and trying to pick out some of the harder to kill fighters. This one's a little tricky as it's pretty abstract where the balance between damage and wounds should be. We can see some of those outliers, and unsurprisingly, we're seeing a lot of Nurgle move 3 fighters being crazy tough. We can also see the Doombull, who has that healing option, making them hard as nails. This top 5 tries to get that balance between damage and wounds. The Lord of Plagues, Poxbringer and Slaughterborn all have great health and amazing damage for their points. The Plague Ridden is as cheap as you can get, and while the numbers are a little lackluster, they are super efficient for the points. All the Nurgle fighters have healing abilities and reactions that reduce damage taken, so they can be quite hard to shift. If we strip out the move 3 fighters, we essentially replace all the Nurgle with more core. We've seen the Blood Reaper and the Bloodmaster before. The Exalted Deathbringer is new though. Same abilities as you've come to expect, a double Blood for the Blood God for the extra action after a kill, and the triple Lord of Skulls gives nearby friendlies +1 attack after a kill. It's interesting to compare him to the Slaughterborn. You're paying 5 extra for 8 more wounds, but losing out on 2 strength. On the plus side, the model is a single rather than a part of a warband, although for twice the price you're getting an entire warband, so, you know. Anyway, great model, tough as hell and great damage. The 2 demons we've already seen. Chaos Spawn is new though. Damage is significantly lower than the Slaughterborn, already a high bar, but notably this is a Thrall. Those do not compete with allies, and you can have up to 3 of them in your warband, so they are essentially neutral fighters. We'll have a look at them in more detail later. One of the things we always look for in a warband is a hammer, a problem solver that will quickly get in position and destroy whatever your problem was. Typically something with Fly is going to be better at that. When we asked for Fly, we weren't expecting Nurgle to be quite so literal. This Lord of Afflictions is top tier damage on a giant fly. Alas, move 6 isn't quite as fast as we'd like, but it will get him there. At 9.33 average damage, this really is a problem solver, and at 42 wounds, it's going to be near impossible to remove. The ability the rune mark opens up is a double Venomous Sting, which will lock a target in melee. As he has reach, normally you'd like to attack from range 2, but for this ability you'll have to be within 1 inch. So more often than not, you're just going to slam into a target and try murder them. The Plaguebringer is a slightly more affordable version of the same, going from 320 points to 255 and losing some wounds and damage. At 6.67 average damage, we're taking a little bit longer to work through those enemy heroes, but you still have access to the Venomous Sting action to keep them there while you do. Flying options for Chaos aren't actually great. The next range all come from the Cinch Disc Riders. They're all around 250 points, have Fly, Move 10, around 25 wounds, and Toughness 4. The top damage here is the Fate Master, with 6 average damage, followed by the Enlightened Aviarch on disc at 5.33. The damage profile of the Aviarch is notable as almost every one of the remaining disc riders has the same melee attack line, but with a ranged as well. The abilities though are kinda meh. There are a few Arcane Bolt style attacks and a number of Metal with Fate dice, but overall nothing particularly thrilling. The last remaining fighter with Fly is the Fury, another Thrall which we'll look at in a little bit more detail later. If we give up on Fly, then we just need to look at the fast fighters. At move 5, we've got a good range and some super efficient options. The Heart Eater and the Doombull we've seen before. Blood Reaver Chieftain is interesting as he's quite cheap and does come with a Blood for the Blood God and Throne of Skulls ability. Trollmaster is from another of the warbands created specifically for Warcry. He's got some very cool abilities, but unfortunately the teleporting triple will only work on Cypher Lord minions, so it's pretty much out. The Allurer is similar in many regards to Blood Reaver, but costs 5 points more. For that, you're getting 2 interesting doubles. One adds 3 to movement, while the other adds 1 to hits and crits made by this fighter until the end of activation. This is notable because many of these abilities are just for the next attack, and with 5 dice it can be relevant. That brings the average damage versus T4 to 9.17, which is quite impressive. If you want to go even faster, we end up in the mounted area. Everything is new here, so we've got a lot of options to explore. Remember, mounted fighters can only climb stairs, and they cannot move through archways or doors, so they can be quite limited. First is the Contorted Epitome. Hovering above the ground, this giant mirror doesn't actually have the mounted trait. Damage is decent at 6, and the range ability is exactly half that, which can mean it's better to shoot twice than move into melee range and attack. It's also got an impressive quad, which will stop a fighter from even activating in a turn. Expensive, but could be big. Second, we have the Varangard with the Demon Forged Blade. There are other options, but this is going to be the biggest damage. Move 10, 30 wounds, 6 toughness, and 7.5 average damage. This will get a lot of work done. There are two doubles of interest. One increases strength and the other attacks. Due to how the game works, attacks will always be the right choice regardless. Like the Chaos Lord, the Varangard also has access to the triple Champion of Darkness. So if they do manage to take down an enemy fighter, they can use this triple to get an extra move and then an extra attack. Then we have the Slick Blade Hunter Seeker, who's notable for its reach 2, so although the damage isn't exciting, it can be applied safely. Heartseeker, on the other hand, has access to the Sadistic Killer's double, which we previously saw on the Allurer, giving +1 to hits and crits. It's cheating a little bit to factor this ability in, especially as everyone has access to the double for +1 attack, but the damage jumps to 9.17 for the remainder of the activation, which is pretty amazing. Last up we have the Centaurian Marshal. I was super pumped for when he came out. Move 10, 5 toughness, 35 wounds. Damage isn't top tier, but is pretty great at 7.5. He has 3 abilities unique to him. Of note is a double net ability. At just 10 points more, he's very comparable to the Varangard. Essentially, you get to choose between abilities, with the Varangard being a little bit more killy, while the Centaurian has the little bit extra control. Unfortunately, I think we don't have a perfect hammer in Chaos. The Lord of Afflictions is a little slow, while the Centaurian and the Vanguard suffer from being mounts. Luckily, the damage is great across the board, so really you've got lots of not quite perfect options. While brutal melee combat is the favourite style for most Chaos Warriors, the Tzeentch/Sheaf followers have been known to dabble in magics and range attacks. Looking back at the Order heroes, their top damage was 6, with the rest of the top 5 all doing 5 average damage. So this is a relatively poor showing for Chaos. To its credit, the Sky Fire Aviarch also has a move of 10 and Fly, which is pretty impressive. The Infernal Enrapturus does have a cool double that reduces enemy attacks by 1, but apart from that, the fighters don't really have any particularly interesting abilities. Redoing it again to look at damage per points, we get the Poxbringer, Grey Seer, and Great Bray Shaman, all with the exact same attack profile, so they're all ordered with cheapest first. This isn't super exciting, but these are all cheap models that can stay safe and lay out some damage. As they don't have to move, notionally you could double the damage to reflect a double attack instead of a move attack. The Poxbringer is notable as it's also super efficient with its melee attack, so it's just all around great for numbers. The Grey Seer is surprisingly the first Skaven we see. Quite nimble at 6 move, many of the Skaven abilities are about keeping safe and getting out of melee. For a double, the Grey Seer can snort some Warpstone and roll dice equal to the ability. If they roll a 1, then they take 1 damage, but for every 4+ rolled, they add 1 to hits and crits from the next missile attack. Unfortunately, adding 2 to the damage and crits will only up the average damage by 2, which is a little lackluster. Still, any day you get to consume Warpstone is a good day. Last up, we have the Bray Shaman. For a double you get a Harpoon ability, but it's pulling directly towards the Bray Shaman and is only rage 6. With some good positioning, you could use this to drag a target into something scarier, like a Doombull, but that could be quite tricky. Okay, I've been hinting at them for a while, it's time to talk about Thralls. These are essentially wild animals that your warband has managed to tame and bring into battle. You can have up to 3 of them, and they don't conflict with your heroes. So if you wanted, you could have 3 heroes and 3 Thralls for your warband. Each set of Thralls is unique to a Grand Alliance, so the Chaos Thralls will be different to the Death and Destruction Thralls, with Order having no Thrall at all. Essentially, you can think of these as generic fighters. There are 5 options available to Chaos. The slowest are move 5 with the Ratrex and the Chaos Spawn, while the remaining 3 are all move 8. Top damage is the Razor Gore, followed by the Chaos Spawn. The Fury has terrible damage and very few wounds, but does have Fly, and importantly doesn't have the Beast Rune mark, so it can pick up treasure unlike all of the rest. All of the Thralls share the same reaction called the Master's Voice. This is a brilliant reaction, allowing the Thrall to give up an action if an enemy comes within 3 inches of a friendly hero. The Thrall then gets to make a move into melee and then attack. Not only are you turning a single action into a move and attack, you're also interrupting your opponent's turn, can do this with multiple Thralls, and potentially could get to do it again with the same Thralls later in the turn, getting 2 moves and 2 attacks. Because of this, you probably want one of the bigger damage models. Each Thrall has an ability unique to them, although most are triples and unlikely to be used. The one double is with the Chaos Warhound, giving it a bonus 3 on the next move. This list as presented is in order of the most efficient damage per points, so you are going to get the most bang for your buck with 2 Raptrix, ridiculous as the model may seem. You do end up with move 5 rather than move 8 though, which may be a consideration, but you do get additional activations, which is nice. Many of the lists I've seen go with 2 or 3 Chaos Warhounds. The speed is fantastic and the damage is fine, but importantly the cost slots in nicely into many warbands. Alright, we've spent a long time looking at numbers, time to focus on some abilities instead. As last time, this is literally me reading every ability and trying to work out whether it was worth talking about, so there's a good chance I've missed something or I've included something that maybe shouldn't be there. You have been warned. In this first section, we're going to look at control abilities, which typically are variations on the net. We already saw the Lord of Afflictions with his variation on the team, but Chaos have quite a few options. We're starting off with the Shadow Piercer, the leader from the Corvus Cabal. As a double, you get to pick a fighter within 20 inches and they cannot disengage for the rest of the battle. Cheap as a double, great range, and no roll required. A little tricky to use though. If the target isn't currently melee, then you need to get the Shadow Piercer there, or they'll just be able to move on their next activation. Apart from that, the Shadow Piercer is a great fighter, as pretty much all of the 8-point leaders are. They also have a triple after a kill that gives +1 attacks to nearby friendlies, in this case it's within 9 inches, which is lots. For the same price you can get the True Blood. The damage is the same, but you trade 1 point of move for 2 reach. The net ability this time is limited to 3 inches, but also stops moves. It's a pretty good combination, letting the True Blood attack from range and lock the target down so they can't be attacked back, assuming the target is melee only. He also has an interesting double, which means his strength will be considered greater than that of the target. So he'll always be doing 7.33 damage on average. For anything T5 or better, that's great, but if you're facing against a 4 toughness target, then you're better off using double for an extra attack. Next we have the Blissbringer from the Slaaneshi Demons. Here the ability is still a double, but now requires a 2+ roll and can only target someone within 1 inch. Damage is lower, but movement is 8, and with 30 wounds, it'll be able to take some blows. Along with the usual Slaanesh increased move double, the Blissbringer has a triple that increases hit and critical damage from the next attack action. With 5 dice, that can actually add up. A triple 3 or 4 will nearly double the average damage to 11.67, although that's just for 1 attack. Annoyingly, you have to decide before your attack whether to do more damage or net the target. From Blissbringer to Blissful One, another 8 points leader. This fighter has a double with some range dependent on the ability, but only works on a 3+, making it one of the less reliable options. We've made a jump in points from the start, now looking at 255. This is getting us 8 move, great damage and 20 wounds. No sign of that Blood for Blood God double, but we do have that Slave to Darkness equivalent of a triple that gives a move and an attack. So 8 move, 6.66 damage, a net double, and a situation triple that doubles activations. That is pretty amazing. Up another tier, we get to Centaurian Marshal at a whopping 295 points. The ability is still a double, back to 3 inches, which is the reach of the spear. It is a 3+, which isn't reliable. Now, I'm conflicted over whether having a control ability like this on such a beatstick is a good idea. On the plus side, you can charge into 2 targets, kill one and lock down the other. On the other hand, you don't get to use any damage multiplier abilities, which could scale better off the big guys. Still, having the option is really nice. There are 4 Chaos allies which don't have warbands. We've seen the Ogroid Myrmidon, the Centaurian Marshal, and the Fulmoroid Crusher. The Mind Stealer Spheranx is the last. Damage isn't as high as Myrmidon or the Crusher's Crazy 10, but 7.33 is still amazing. The Mind Stealer is hard to kill with 5 toughness and 30 wounds. It's also super fast at 8 move. It actually has 2 control abilities. The first is a double, a 3+ net, with a range equal to the ability. We've seen this before. The second is a quad, which I wouldn't normally mention, but this one completely locks down a fighter, preventing them from activating at all or even making reactions. Range is limited to that of the ability, and as a quad you can't get too picky. But even with a quad 1, you can get a lot of work done, as the Sphinx can charge up with move 8, lock down the target, and then take a bite out of it without any fear. With the Contorted Epitome, we have the same quad again, but with a fixed range of 9 inches. This was the most efficient damage per points move 10 fighter. The range attack is a little lackluster, but the option for the quad is quite nice, especially as players get better at understanding how to use reactions. Next up we have 2 Harpoon Abilities. We've already mentioned the Brace Shaman, who has decent stats for its cost. Interestingly, the range ability is better than the melee, which doesn't happen too often. The Harpoon ability is a double, which is great, has a range of 6, and will move the target inches equal to the ability, so between 1 and 6 depending on what you've got. The movement is equal, not up to, so you don't have a lot of control with it. The real issue here is the Brace Shaman wants the target to be at range, so if you use the ability, it will get the target nearer to another friendly, maybe a Doombull. That will require some tricky positioning to pull off, but is a nice option on a cheap hero. For a little more aggressive option, we can try out a Slaughter Priest. The ability is almost identical, but 8 inches instead of 6. You have 2 options, Sword and Flail, which give you a decent melee and a weaker 3 reach weapon, or pay 10 more points for slightly better damage and a reach 2 weapon. Honestly, both look great, so I'd be tempted to just go with whatever model looked cooler. Unlike the Brace Shaman, they should be able to lay down decent damage, and with good positioning, you could drag the target into another friendly fighter's range, essentially saving 2 movement activations. Next up we have some damage abilities. We do see plenty of these, but I wanted to mention a few notable ones. First one, the Myrmidosh Painmaster, is actually a cautionary one. The double will boost the average damage to 7.33, but this is only slightly better than using the Onslaught ability, which would give 6.67. As they're both boosting for the rest of the activation, this is a solid ability, especially on a 155 point model. But watch out for similar abilities that only boost the next attack, as typically Onslaught will be better when you're able to attack twice. Next up we have the Slaughterborn. There are actually 2 versions with a Great Axe and a Great Blade option. They're very similar, with one having more dice and the other having more strength. But importantly, the base damage for the Great Axe is greater, which pushes it over the edge to just being superior in every way. There are 2 doubles of interest. The first, Display Brutality, is Blood for the Blood God, a classic as ever. The other though is super interesting. This is a Vow Fulfilled. You pop it at the start of your activation, and anytime you get a kill, you can increase your toughness, attacks, or strength for the rest of the battle. So once you get rolling, this will get even more insane. Each extra dice of attack will increase the damage by 2.34, so a few extra kills with this and you'll quickly become a murder machine. I suspect the axe hit damage of 3 is a typo, as changing it to 2 gives it a nice steady damage of 7.33, which would make you choose between high damage against T3 and low against T5, or steady damage across all 3. Currently, there's no choice. It's the Great Axe all the way. Indeed, as this is a barbarian model with a Great Axe, I could definitely see other models from the Dark Oath warband standing in as additional Slaughterborn heroes. Next up we have the Ogroid Myrmidon. Again, we've seen him in the top 5 damage models in Chaos. Of particular note, he has an ability that gives a friendly a point of damage and an extra attack as a triple. Unfortunately, it does have to be a visible friendly, and fighters don't count as visible to themselves, so the Myrmidon can't target himself. So to get maximum value out of this, you'll need to run another big cruiser. Next up we have the Sloppity Bilepiper. Warcry is a game where movement is king, and abilities that boost movement are great. This, however, is a little tame, only adding 1 move. Most often you'll be using this ability on your first turn, giving the entire group an extra 1 move for both of their move activations that turn. At 130 points, you're getting a useful ability on a pretty decent stat line, and in theory you could take multiple Bilepipers and have their effects stack with multiple doubles. Okay, now we're getting into some interesting stuff. The classic version of this was the Beast Talker from the Untamed Beasts, but Master Molder has the advantage of being a hero, so anyone can take one. There are some cool abilities for Skaven heroes. The triple Leap from the Back adds extra dice to nearby fighters, which can be good. Of more interest, we have 2 doubles. One heals a beast and the other gives them an extra attack. To maximize this, you'll want hard-hitting beasts. Luckily, we have some options. The classic, of course, is the Rat Ogre, and with good reason. While we haven't seen many Skaven on this list, here's why. The real power is in the fighters, not the heroes. Very few things are as scary as the Rat Ogre, but if you're running any of the other big beasts, the Master Molder might be worth it. It's worth noting that if you have 2 sets of doubles and you're already in position, you can wait as your first action to use the ability once, then activate again later in the turn to use the ability a second time. Doing that, you can generate a massive amount of damage seemingly out of nowhere. Similarly, the Bloodstoker has a double that gives an extra attack to a ferocious fighter. No healing ability, but the damage is much better than the Master Molder. I quite like the idea here of interactions based on rune marks, as it allows some interesting combinations between models in different warbands. Looking for decent ferocious fighters is a little tricky. The normal target is the Kargareth, but there are a few interesting other options. Nothing I think I'd base a warband on, but worth keeping an eye out for future releases. Last up we have the Infernal and Rapturous, who has a very interesting double which removes 1 die from nearby enemies' attacks. The key part here is it's a double, so you have a good chance of being able to use the ability twice. If you take a wait action with her using the first double, then activate her again to use the ability a second time. Everyone around her will take -2 to attacks. As the majority of profiles have 3 to 4 attacks, this could effectively neuter an enemy warband within that zone. As her base is 35 by 60, you're looking at minimum a 13-inch diameter bubble, and that's within the 22 by 30-inch Warcry board. I have looked around and this should work, but it's the sort of thing that might be unintended, so keep an eye on FAQs in the future. And if you're planning on running this against an opponent, give them a heads up, and if you're planning on running it at a tournament, definitely check with the judge beforehand. Overall, Chaos are spoiled for choice. They definitely are limited on flying and ranged options, but the amount of high damage, high wound heroes they have is really crazy. I've picked out a few of the highlights for myself. I suspect the Slaughterborn is undercosted, and I love the idea of the ramp up ability. The Doomball is an amazing hunk of beef, but I'm pretty sure I'll never run one as I don't like the model. Instead, I'll stick to my trusty Myrmidon and maybe pick up a Fomorian Crusher to go along with him. I definitely want to try out the Sphinx. It's fast, tough, and has great damage along with 2 amazing net abilities. Similarly, the Trueblood has great stats, damage, and the net ability, all at a cheaper cost. Again, I doubt I'll get round to picking him up, but if I had the Splintered Fang warband, I think the Trueblood would end up as an ally in a lot of my warbands. The Lord of Afflictions has all of that and fly, but is crazy expensive. At 42 wounds, he, along with the Ogre Tyrant from Destruction, is the highest wound model outside of monsters. Along with the Nurgle abilities to heal and reduce incoming damage, I'd be surprised to ever see one of these die. Again, I think I'm unlikely to ever pick one up, mostly as the Nurgle models kind of creep me out. The heroes I've been talking about today are the absolute cream of the crop. Tons of the fighters I've not mentioned are comparable to some of the best heroes in the other Grand Alliances. So while Chaos might not have all of the fancy options, when it comes to heroes that kill things, they've got you covered. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible 2-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.